What's up, beer seekers? We're back with another episode of Industry Insiders, and we're excited to be joined by one of our local favorites tonight. We've got JP Gallagher, co-founder and co-owner of Lost Shoe Brewing and Roasting Company out of Marlborough, Massachusetts, here with us tonight. JP, thanks for taking the time to chat with us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so JP, I'm going to get this started because I was able to join you guys a couple weeks ago when you unveiled your new Winter Wonderland there in the tap room. I thought it was awesome, but we wanted to just start off with what you guys have going on right now in the tap room. I know you've got some new beers able to try as well, but just want to hear you guys kind of talk about where what you guys came up with for this winter and where the ideas came from.
Yeah, so with the cooler months coming upon us, I mean, we just had a big snowstorm today, so
yeah,
trying to get creative in ways to get people inside and spending time in their tap room, especially now that we've lost some of our patio outside. And yeah, so we basically took the outside in. We turned into a Winter Wonderland. It's very, it's not holiday specific. It's very festive and wintry. We've got lots of pine trees throughout the tap room, at least more so in the ticketed area. And yeah, so with that, a ticket will get you an hour and a half in what we're calling the Lost Forest. And you'll get access to 2 of our exclusive beers to that space, and then you get a charcuterie report as well.
Yeah, it was awesome. It really felt like it was like a cozy little Winter Wonderland, and we didn't even have the spot that where it looked like there was like a wood stove setup going on at the end of it. It was like even cozier looking. So
yeah,
the
like
perfect.
It's like the whole cabiny area of the forest.
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned the 2 new beers. We actually recently posted about one of the new beers, the stout, which was like, I've said it in the post, I think I'm not a huge stout fan, but this thing was like out of control in all the ways, and I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. You want to talk a little bit about the stout and where you came up with that one?
Yeah, so being in a forest, especially if you're by a campfire, the first thing you think of is s'mores. So I wanted to do a big heavy hitter imperial stout that wasn't. It's definitely warming, and it's got some booze to it at 13.8%. But it's balanced with graham cracker, cocoa nibs, marshmallow, and vanilla beans to kind of give it that nice s'mores rounded out flavor profile.
Yeah.
In the forest itself, we do a graham cracker and chocolate rim with a toasted marshmallow on top. So it's a whole experience.
It really was. Yeah, we did, and you guys saw the little video we did where they got the little flamethrower going and they're spinning the marshmallow. I thought that was awesome. That fired me up. I thought that was cool. But yeah, all in all, the winter experience you guys have set up, well, very well done in my opinion.
And my mom actually, so we closed the Tuesday and Wednesday that we had of the week that we unveiled it, and my mom came in with a group of people and she just knocked it out of the park. I mean,
wow.
She took it and fully ran with it. We're super happy with how everything came out.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What's the other new brew that you guys have been working on?
It is called Miracle on 19 Weed Street. So
nice.
It's an IPA that's brewed with spruce tips. It's got oddly enough, I have a spruce allergy, so I can't fully enjoy it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Took one for the team there, making a beer.
Like that. Yeah. Whenever we cut down the Christmas tree or bring it into the house, if I get little pins and needles on my arms, I'll get little hives. Yeah, so I thought in a beer I'd probably be fine, but turns out not so much. But people seem to like it.
The hard way, it sounds like.
Exactly, yeah. People seem to like it. It's got really nice fruity and citrusy notes. I use Chinook in there. I use Simcoe to kind of give it more of that like piney bitterness, but it's got a lot of nice New England style qualities to it.
Yeah, and you
Yeah,
guys seem to really be embracing the whole winter theme with everything. Is this something you guys have done in the past, or is this new and do you have plans to do more?
So this is the first time we've done this. Last winter was our first winter in our space, and I mean we got. I mean we love kind of decorating things. I mean Halloween is big for us. The holidays are big for us, so we're always decorating to be as festive as we can, and this was more over the top than anything that we had ever done. Just because, I mean, we wanted to go big with it.
Yeah.
Especially because people's time is limited. Not as many people are going out right now. So getting something put together that could really draw a crowd, well, not too big of a crowd, but was our goal.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that was one thing I did want to mention too. Just, that's obviously as important as it gets these days. The way you guys had the whole thing set up, very social distance friendly, whatever the heck I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But everybody had their own little space, a couple of logs to sit on, as well as chairs, couches. It was awesome. But yes, it is very, very much so spaced out for,
we wanted people to feel comfortable. I mean, being inside is tough right now, but everybody, yeah, it does feel like you're in your own little cove, and we do table service in that area so that people don't feel the need to have to get up from their seats. We don't do paper menus in general in the tap room. We're doing the QR codes outside of the Lost Forest area, but yeah, table service in the Winter Wonderland.
Yeah.
Is this something you guys think that you'll continue going forward? Maybe even like try a seasonality kind of thing, like switch it up per season?
Possibly. So we're definitely, we can definitely fit a lot more people in that area. Right now we are, I mean, strategically we've got 6 sections in there. Prior to COVID, I think we probably had, I don't know, maybe a dozen or so tables in that area, plus a standing rail and things like that. So we'll see. I mean, people love it, so I'm not opposed to bringing it back. And we do have all the pine trees now. I don't think we're going to return those. I think they're just going to end up in stores somewhere. So yeah, I mean, it could definitely be something that we'll bring back, but we are going to keep it going until beginning of March.
Nice.
That's
I will
awesome.
say Nick, you and I actually, we went back in February.
Yep.
It was the last weekend, I believe, before COVID started,
Before everyone had to close. Yeah.
Yeah. It was our last Saturday. We got there just in time, but loved the original setup too. I remember saying that we talked about it back then. Just a cool tap room. You guys, yeah, it's good. You guys have enough space to do something like this too.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I guess diving into that just a little bit. So when we typically start these things out, these interviews, we usually go very broad and start with let's talk about your background and getting into how you started and everything like that. We'll get there. But one thing I kind of want to talk about really quick is, you guys are a brewing and roasting company. So you also do coffee. And I was really curious about just from your point of view, what the marriage is like between craft brewing and craft coffee roasting, just from your perspective, how do those two fit together?
So it's funny you use the word marriage because my wife is the other half of Lost Shoe. So she is the other co-founder and she is the roasting part of the business. There are a lot of similarities between coffee and craft beer. Coffee is getting more craft, which is great. It's such a great product if it's done right. Where coffee just doesn't have to taste like coffee. It doesn't have to taste roasty. It doesn't have to taste like dark chocolate. It can be fruity. It can taste like berries. It can taste like cinnamon or vanilla without adding anything additional to it. So there are a lot a lot of complementing features in coffee with beer. One of the big reasons why we ended up kind of jumping headfirst into this was because of the coffee. We had talked about opening up a brewery for a number of years, and we had a business plan and wanted to start roasting coffee at home. And we got more into it, and we revisited the business plan. We were actually traveling and ended up at a coffee roaster, and we sat at a bar, and it felt like a tap room. The barista came up to us, talked to us about the coffee like a beer tender or bartender would talk to you about beer. And we looked at each other, we're like, this vibe works for coffee. It clearly works for beer. Why don't we kind of combine the two and open one shop for both products? So I mean, we're super happy with how everything's come together. The space does feel like one big cohesive space. We definitely have the like cafe coffee shop vibe at the front because we've got our espresso taps, we've got like pastries and things like that. We've got our drip coffee makers. So we have things kind of sectioned off, but it's one big kind of open space. So yeah, so I mean, they really complement each other, which is great.
Do you like typically find that people who really are into craft beers are also really into like the intricate craft coffee and like vice versa?
I think it's an easier path to get invested in kind of different crafts like that. If you are really big into craft beer, and if you're big into coffee, just if you're a coffee drinker, going down the path of craft coffee, I think is a pretty easy path to take. There are a lot of different nuances with just coffee on its own that I think craft beer drinkers can really appreciate.
And I love that you mentioned the environment you're trying to create, because that's exactly the feeling I got the first time I stepped into Lost Shoe. Is it felt like a cafe, but you have that long bar. You're like, wait a second, like it is a cafe, but I can also order beer, and you have the games and the couches, and I'll take any excuse that I can go to a brewery at 9 a.m. and say I'm just getting coffee. So
Yeah. Yeah.
We do serve our milk stout with cold brew in a coffee mug. So
love that.
at 9 a.m., nobody can tell the difference.
That's fantastic. Do you have like, I don't know, regulars that go in just for the coffee versus the beer?
Oh yeah. And that's the hard thing. Craft beer, people will drive, they'll drive to the middle of nowhere, they'll park, they'll walk. Coffee's different. It's convenience and it's routine. So breaking people's routine to get into their day it's hard. But over the last year and a half, we've really developed a really strong kind of base set of daily customers, which is great.
That's very cool.
That's really cool. And that's, you mentioned something there that I've just thought of, and it's really cool is, like people who start their day with coffee, like they're typically in a rush. They want to just like get in, get out, like grab what they need. And at the end of the day, you're also there to like get people who are coming off of work or doing whatever they need to do. And they're like, we just want to chill, like sit down, enjoy ourselves. So you kind of have like that sandwich on both sides of people's busy day. That's really neat.
Exactly. Yeah, we do. I mean, we definitely have our morning and evening regulars, which is great. I mean, so we'll see them first thing in the morning, and then we'll see them after work. We do have, it's gotten better now, during COVID, but prior to COVID, we had really like steady work from the tap room, group of people. So people would come in the morning and get their coffee, sit down, do their work and have meetings or whatever.
Oh, wow.
And then, I don't know, maybe 3, I'm not going to out anybody, but like 3 p.m. maybe start looking at the beer menu. So it's nice. It's a full day. I mean, we're open 7 days a week, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. for the most part, 8 a.m. on the weekends. And that was the other thing too, being open 7 days a week for a craft brewery, you don't typically see.
Right.
But to close or to be only open for a couple days during the week for coffee, you're not going to get into people's routine.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to go back to, you had mentioned how people will drive anywhere for craft beer, which is definitely true. We all do it. But one thing I wanted to touch on is the Marlborough Hudson area. I think of it as kind of like a mini craft capital. I don't think people realize there's a lot of breweries around here, and I'm obviously biased, but can you talk a little bit about the collaboration and the partnerships you guys do together? I know before COVID hit, we did Mass Brew Week, and you guys had a whole deal where if you go to every brewery and have one at least at every one, you get the pint glass. It just seems like a really good community developing here in the area.
It's awesome. I mean, the craft beer community in itself is super collaborative. I mean, everybody's out there to help themselves. It's not cutthroat like the restaurant industry. I think the restaurant industry is probably getting better now, but for craft beer, it kind of has always felt like a community. And Marlborough and Hudson is, I mean, with us, Flying Dreams and Tacklebox and Marlborough and then Ground Effect and Medusa and Hudson, we've got this great little core group of breweries. And we all, I mean, we work together on the Mass Beer Week thing. In Marlborough specifically, for Oktoberfest last year, we had a big Marlborough brewery Oktoberfest over at the Flying Dreams parking lot. That was, for its first year, we were pretty successful. I mean, it was a long day, but it was fun. Unfortunately, we couldn't do that this year, but we're hoping to come back next year and hopefully do it bigger and better. But yeah, it's great. And Marlborough and Hudson are so close. They feel like sister towns, where, I don't know, that there's a lot of, Hudson's definitely a little bit ahead of Marlborough in terms of like places to go to eat, places to do things. I mean, the micro creamery and the speakeasy is great. Obviously Medusa and Ground Effect, but Marlborough is trying to kind of catch up to a lot of the like small town vibes that Hudson has, where you can actually go out and do stuff, because people need to like do things, and you can't. I mean, the downtown in Marlborough, it's getting better, but I mean, there are so many just either empty spots or barbershops and things like that. I mean, we don't need 7 or 8 barbershops.
I sure don't.
No, yeah.
Well, actually, that reminds me, and don't take this like weird or anything. I did see a picture of you on Instagram in which you used to have very long hair and a very long beard.
So
it seems that COVID cut it down for you.
So I do have the long hair. I just keep it up.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But my beard, I had shaved for Movember, and I kept the mustache because I don't know, I was happy with how the mustache was looking, and I've never had a mustache before. Probably won't do it again. I'm throwing the beard back out, but yeah, I don't know. I go through random hair phases, but yeah.
I feel you. that wasn't one of our planned topics today. But you brought up barbershops, and so, anyways.
It was an appropriate segue.
Yeah, exactly. You knew. So we do like to ask some fun questions too, just about like the deeper into like behind the scenes of the brewery and where your ideas come from. But one of the ones that we seem to not stump brewers with, but it's a hard question for most brewers to answer. Out of all the beers you personally create, which one is your favorite? Do you have a favorite, or do you have a hard time picking between all of your children?
My answer is always, it depends on my mood. It depends on the day, it depends on what I want to drink. I mean, if it's a long brew day and I'm tired and just want to have a clean beer, I typically go to our Kolsch. It's our house beer. It's clean, it's light, it's easy to drink. But I don't know, like sometimes I want a Belgian beer, sometimes I want something super hoppy. or a stout. I typically don't reach for the stouts when I'm at the tap room because those for me are generally just like end of night beers.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's tough. It's a hard question, but
I think only one time, one of our interviews, there was one, remember when we did Around the Horn, Brandon, one of them had an answer right away. He was like, no, this isn't hard at all. But everybody else has had the same trouble.
And I get the mood thing because I'm with you. I have to feel a certain way to want a certain beer. I don't always want a stout or always want an IPA. So I get that.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, we understand that it is like asking people to pick between their kids, like what's your favorite? That it's it's all amazing and everyone should try everything. So we totally get that.
Yeah.
One thing we definitely wanted to ask before we let you go, and I didn't want to forget it. So where did the name Lost Shoe come from?
So Marlborough is an old shoe factory town. There were like 40 factories at one point in Marlborough, and Marlborough being a little bit ahead of its time in the factory game, most of these buildings were made out of wood. So over time, they either burnt down or were torn down. So Marlborough's got a lot of rich shoe history and not a whole lot to show for it. Melinda and I are both from Marlborough, so we wanted to kind of highlight the city's history, being a place for the community. I think probably one of the big names that did make it out of Marlborough it was Fry Boots, and so they're still around today. But they started in Marlborough in like 1800s. So
that's so cool. I mean, yeah, that's we so that's kind of what I was gonna get back to. What I was saying, like what we normally start with is like, how did you get into the industry? Tell us a little bit more about the brewery. So like I guess that's kind of what we want to dive into real quick now is when did you guys start? How did you get into the brew industry in the first place?
So I did a brew on premise thing like over 10 years ago, and I really enjoyed it. And my in-laws got me a homebrew kit, and so I started on the stove. And I did, I think, maybe 2 or 3 extract beers. And I'm like, there's no way that craft breweries or commercial breweries are making beer with extract. So I went down the all grain rabbit hole, and I'm actually in the old brew room. You can see the electric panel kind of behind my Sega Night Cabin setup over there. But yeah, so we turned the basement into a little mini electric brewery, and this system that we had down here is pretty much a small version of what we've got at the tap room today. So I started home brewing, and then we decided we actually wanted to dive in headfirst into this industry. So I went to the American Brewers Guild, and I got a degree in intensive brewing science and engineering. So wow. I wanted to have some formal education under my belt before opening up something, just because there's a lot that can go wrong. There's a lot that you just don't know. And so it was a 23-week course, and then I had a week residency at a brewery up in Vermont. So
wow,
yeah,
that's very cool. I didn't know that like a program like that was a thing. Was it like a lot of hands-on stuff, or was it like you were at school?
So the 22 weeks of it were all online, like at home learning. We had a couple of exams, but we had homework every week, and that allowed me to keep doing my day job. And then the week residency was full on hands-on. I mean, we had a brew day, we had a transfer day, we had lab day, we did sensory training, and then we had our final exam. So it was a very great course. I mean, I would highly recommend anybody looking to get into the craft beer industry to look into the American Brewers Guild.
That's cool. One other question along the home brewing lines. The first time you mentioned, the first time you tried out brewing on your own, do you remember how it came out? Because I did it a few years back, and it tasted kind of good, but it was absolutely nowhere near what it was supposed to be. And I lived in a little apartment, and shit was getting all over the place. I made a disaster of it. Like it was a very very stressful situation for me. I was trying to do it right, and 2 weeks later, I had this weird like apple tasting thing.
Yeah.
That was Nick. You had it. It was like,
Oh yeah, I liked it, but it
I
wasn't
guess
what you
it's
were going
good, but
for.
yeah.
It was good.
Right. So, I mean, the first handful of beers that I brewed here, I mean, now I refer to them as tasting very homebrewy because, and that was the big thing for me. Using the extract in the beer gives a very distinct flavor that I wasn't getting in craft beer. And I'm like, what's the disconnect here? What am I doing differently that professionals are doing? And yeah, so I mean, they were fine. They weren't terrible, but they like beer that I brewed at home. And then when I started doing all grain, that was kind of the missing piece. It was progress at that point.
Yeah.
Like the first beer I did down here, all grain, was probably like a brown ale. And Marlborough's water is great for dark beers. It's very alkaline. We have very high pH, so I made some decent dark beers, and then I had to figure out how to make better light beers.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I only had a few experiments that I was not super happy with. For the most part, I was pretty happy with what I was able to do down here.
Nice.
That's interesting. Like all of the intricate stuff that you have to think about, like which water is better for which type of beer.
Yeah,
It's intense.
well, it is. I mean, water is like 90-something% of beer.
Right.
If your water is not good, the beer is not going to be good. Same thing with coffee. The water, yeah. So the water, we're just making flavored water at Lost Shoe for the most part.
Why does it dehydrate you so much then?
Right, yeah.
That's the unfortunate part. Yeah.
So
So
JP, oh, go ahead, Steve.
I was just gonna, last question, again, putting you on the spot. We can wrap it up with this one, but in a minute or two, someone who's never gone to Lost Shoe before, why should they go?
So we are a small craft brewery in downtown Marlborough. Marlborough's got a lot of charm to it. We make some pretty decent beers. We've got a coffee shop in-house. We roast our own coffee on site, and we've got a nice, just a nice welcoming tap room. It's got a lot of nice industrial elements, but it's also cozy. So we've got some couches in there. We've got a nice big long bar once people can start sitting at bars again. And then from now until March, we've got this great Winter Wonderland going on. So yeah, I mean, come check us out. We're happy to have people come visit us.
And you guys take that family vibe quite literally.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we're definitely very family friendly. We're a place for the community. We wanted to kind of welcome all walks of life into our space. So.
Well, so really quick too, before we get you out of here, where can people find information on Lost Shoe? Where can they go to, see what you guys are offering? Tell us a little bit more also about social media.
Yeah, so physically, people can find us at 19 Weed Street in downtown Marlborough. We've got a nice big parking garage right in front of our door, and we've got a lot to the I guess right side of our building as well, all free parking, which is nice. And then digitally, people can find us at lostshoebrews.com, as well as Lost Shoe Brews on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
Perfect. There it is. Yeah, lostshoebrews.com, at lostshoebrews on social media, and definitely head to the Winter Wonderland. I mean, Steve, you and Tim were there. You guys have, not going to speak for you, but you guys had a blast. So
yeah, it was great. 2 great new brews to try as well. So make sure you get in there for that.
Yeah, definitely. So, JP, thank you so much for taking the time for joining us tonight. For us, subscribe to our YouTube channel for more of our video content, along with more of these Industry Insiders video interviews, and some of our other great stuff that we've got going on. Find us at BeerSighted.com for our other blog content as well. And we're on social media at BeerSightedPod. So JP, again, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really appreciate having you.
Thanks for having me. I definitely appreciate this.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be in for sure as soon as we possibly can.
Absolutely.
All right.
Cheers.
Thanks, JP.
Thank you.